couple months. Let's talk about the end of 2025. Why I do laundry, because I hate laundry. Oh, here comes stockings. Hi, honey. You're on my GoPro because it's pretty much all I want to use right now is my little GoPro. This year, I think it was an okay year in the sense that I'll be wearing these pajamas. Let me set them back here. There was a lot that happened this year, you know? The biggest thing that happened this year was that my mother and my sister and her family moved back down here in the summertime. And that was a huge move, actually, to be quite honest with you. For them and for me, because with them moving down here, I became a lot more social, started leaving my house more, and working. I moved to 3 days a week, I think. Did I start that this year or last year? That might have been last year, but it was definitely, this year has been a lot in regards for that. Because I feel like I've been working more, like a lot more, to the point where I'm exhausted a lot of the time. My creativity has suffered a lot this year. I do not draw or write as much as I used to. I think to the point where I haven't touched my drawing pad more than like a couple minutes every few months. And then writing, I have really lost touch with it as a creative thing, as like a creative fulfillment. My cat is tearing up my yoga mat. But to the point where it started giving me anxiety and I was dreading it, so I haven't really written much either. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I've tried really hard to work on the fact that I don't know how to do commitment very well and that I'm flaky. And a lot of that was doing stuff in person, to the point where instead of just, not doing anything, I've kind of overcompensated and started doing too much, to where I was burning myself out yet again and agreeing to do too many things that was exhausting me. And I think a lot of my the external stuff has suffered because of that. And I think I am getting older. Next year I'm gonna be 29, which crazy. I didn't ever think I would get that age, so yay me. But I am getting older. A lot of my things that that matter to me are shifting a little bit. Especially with my sister and her kids being down here, it's definitely shifted more towards family-oriented stuff, which I haven't always had, so it's interesting. I have read a lot of books. I would say my favorite this year that I read was probably Misery. I read that for the first time, loved it, loved the book. And Swan Light, I read that book and I ended up really loving that one. But I have gotten way too many books this year, so that's my goal for next year, is to read a bunch of the books that I have on my bookshelf. I would say overall 2025, for what it has been, it wasn't a bad year, but it was a lot for a year. And I think a lot of it was just a bunch of figuring out what's important to me and who I want to be as a person, I guess. I haven't quite figured it out. I'm still figuring a lot of stuff out. I think The little bit of riding I did is still really rough, but I'm not forcing myself to ride her anymore, and I'm going to keep it probably to a hobby. Just something enjoyable that's fun for me to do and not put pressure on myself as like that's what I'm going to do with my life, because I still don't know. I don't have high expectations for myself. And then like video editing. I used to have fun with that, but for some reason I really fell off the wagon with that one too. And I've tried to record videos a lot, but it just kind of fell flat. I think my biggest hurdle for literally everything is that I do drive 45 minutes to work and back home like 3 days a week, and that doesn't sound a lot. It's not as bad as some people do it, but for me it's a lot. It's very taxing on me personally, but it is my job and it is what I do for making money, and I'm not going to give that up anytime soon because it's also my social outlet and how I interact with family a lot. At midnight, I'm trying to put these clothes away. Would you get out of them? But it's been very up and down here. Very up and down of just figuring things out. Figuring myself out, I think. But I will say the biggest thing for me has been knitting. Hold on. Come with me. That's something I recently picked up, mostly as a therapeutic thing, because sometimes things happen and you need to deal with it. Okay, so I've gotten into knitting. The very first thing I ever knitted was this dishcloth from a YouTube tutorial. What a gal. And then I got like a bunch of knitting stuff, and I got a knitting kit with like the needles and stuff and a booklet, and I tried to make their dishcloth or whatever that they had, and it's supposed to be like a pot holder square, and I tried to make it and I've learned that I have no idea what I was doing, and instead of just a pot holder, it's my Christmas tree pot holder, or Grinch's thong, if you will. I have no idea what happened or why it's in a triangle. We like triangles around here, but it wasn't working, so I was like, let me try that pattern but smaller. We got a little coaster out of it. I did not weave in the ends. That's just how it is. That's how it's gonna be. This one turned out pretty good. I think I knitted it on a trip up to Missouri for work to go get like hoodies and stuff. Anyways, this gave me confidence, so I went back to try another thing. Or no, I think this was the fourth thing I knitted, because this was the third thing. This is when I was discovering like knitting YouTube, and then seeing a lot of people talk about this website called Ravelry or whatever. I like how I'm like, I don't know if I pronounced that right, so whatever. But anyways, this website, and I found this pattern for a dishcloth. This is not at all what it's supposed to be. It's face cloth, whatever. This is not at all. Not at all what it's supposed to be, bestie. Anyways, I realized I was doing the pattern completely wrong, terribly wrong, other than the seed stitching, which is rough, but it's okay. And also it was turning into a triangle again. So I was like, I got to about here, as you can see. It said, let me just quickly bind this off. Except for I didn't know how to bind things off properly. So I just did this. And then I was like, let's add a little loop to hold it up. And now it sits on my board back there. And then I got bored of doing dishcloth after this, because I was like, yep, I've done it. I know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. So with my other yarn ball that I had, I knitted some fingerless gloves. This was the first one I knit. It's a little big on me. It was a super easy free pattern on Ravelry. Turned out cute, kind of reminds me of a koi fish. I like to wear these in the morning since it's finally cold in Arkansas. We had a, 78, almost 80 degree Christmas, crazy. And this was the other one I made. I think there's 2 patterns for this. This one is the knitted flat, and you just seam up the sides here. That's kind of where I was learning how to seam. It's not great, but it is what it is. And also I started running out of yarn, so I picked another one that was like, it's similar in the like pattern, the little, how it's dyed, except for it's yellow and white. And it turned out pretty good for not really knowing what I was doing. This was fun to learn, to figure stuff out. My tension's kind of all over the place, I think. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what twisted stitches and stuff are. But anyways, I made those and I got really confident in myself of what I was doing. So, and I didn't want to do anything else, so I made a hat. This hat was a nightmare. The pattern is on Ravelry. I will link all the patterns and stuff that I used. I might not be able to find the first one. Probably it's like the first video, but I'll link the patterns and stuff that I used for these. This, I'll probably link my Ravelry too, because I leave notes on my projects and they're kind of crazy. But this was a nightmare of a hat, but it's really cute. And the yarn it's like 100%, I don't know. The yarn is soft. This pattern is a nightmare. This was the size for my head and is huge. Do you see how this is? That's with me cutting off. Like, it wants you to repeat this little pattern up here like 3 times. I had to cut it off because it was going to be way too big. And reading through the other projects that got finished, that's one of their things. It's like a bag of yarn and way too big. I think I could have made the small version of this and been just fine. And I think if I was to make it again, I would definitely do that smaller thing and maybe make it smaller, because this is huge on my head, huge. Also, look at the little barriers I made. When I first put them on, I sewed them way back here and it wasn't working. And I wish I had sewn them up here. That's easier to see, but by the time I had re-sewn them back on like that, I sewn them on the second time I was done. And you could definitely tell I don't know what I'm doing because I've got a hole right here and I don't know what I did, and I don't know. Yeah, I did not want to fix it. Also, binding it off. This is when I was like really weaving in ends and stuff. And that's what I knitted for 2025. I was going to show you other things to do, but I think that's probably where this video is going to end. Just short and sweet. Lessons of 2025 was just, I'm still figuring out who I am and what I really care about. And I'm going to pick up some of my hobbies that I put aside this year, going into 2026. Just because it's giving me stuff to do, especially since I am more trying to find the balance between my own personal stuff, my social life, and like work and stuff. And then I'm gonna make a quick little video talking about 2026 and my goals for that year too. So catch you later.